Today we're talking about how to get skills in today's competitive job environment. First of a two-part series. Stand by. Hey everybody, welcome back to RATTLECAN Fab Shop. I am your host, James, and we're going to do a short two-part series today about skills, how to get more skills. The American Welding Society is estimating that 78,500 welding positions are going to have to be filled in like the next 3 years. Most of those jobs are going to be easier to get if you have a diverse set of skills. It's not enough to be able to sit inside of a weld booth and make Insta-Pretty stainless welds. You have to be able to do more than that. You have to be able to read a print, an assembly print in many cases. You have to be able to pull stock. You have to be able to read a bill of materials. You have to be able to pick accessory parts. You have to be able to figure out what process you're going to use, what settings you're going to use. There's a lot involved into getting a fabrication / welding job besides being able to make Insta-Pretty stainless steel welds. And one of the ways that you can expand the skills that you have is by formal education. And by formal education, what is it I mean? I mean, formal education is when you sign up or enroll in a planned course of instruction facilitated by a qualified instructor. There's a lot of caveats in there. What do I mean by a qualified? Qualified instructor can mean anything from a degreed instructor, perhaps a welding process engineer, someone who is knowledgeable in not just the field of welding, but also knowledgeable in the field of mechanical engineering, the field of fabrication. It can be someone who has experience in the line of welding / fabrication from their years of employment. They could be a credentialed instructor. For instance, if they are a certified welding educator, might be a good person to learn from. So there's different flavors of this formal education that I talk about, and probably the first one that we used to be experienced, or at least exposed to it a lot more, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth and I was a kid. And that used to be a sheet metal shop in high school. High school VOTEC problems have suffered for many, many, many years. And there are places in the country where they are starting to come back. There's becoming an emphasis upon the importance of the trades, not just welding, not just sheet metal work, but auto mechanics and plumbers and carpenters and electricians and all that type of stuff was kind of poo-pooed for a long time in favor of the formal 4-year college education. But that is usually the first exposure to a formal education in like the welding or fabrication field. These days, a lot of schools have what's called a block program. And that is usually a 2-year program, your junior and your senior year, and they will block out a section of the day where you concentrate on some sort of vocational or specialized education component. I have a kid who at our local school went through the culinary block program, and that was 2 years. It was half the day for 2 years. And when she completed that program, which included testing for a national culinary certificate, not at the employee level, but at the management level. They also competed in state competitions against other programs. One of the benefits of that is At the completion of a high school level block program, you can potentially earn college credit. In our school district, if you complete that program, you have a scholarship, an automatically awarded scholarship to our local community college to the tune of nearly or completely covering a 2-year associate's degree. It's just for showing up. The best part about it, it's not tied to what it is you did in high school. If you went and did the culinary program and you decide you want to be a machinist, if that local community college or trade school accepts that, then you can do that. And my local community college has a fantastic manual machining program, a CNC program. They have a nursing program. They have an excellent, actually an unmanned aerial systems program. So, you're not pigeonholed into that. But that's kind of the first experience that you get of formal education when it comes to, the trades. So usually after high school, what you could possibly be geared towards is degreed programs, and those are not as, at least in my experience, not as common if you're looking to get into the trades. There are programs around the country. Ohio State has got a welding engineer program. There are different programs that lean you towards like CNC programming or manufacturer engineering, or kind of towards the engineering process side of things, which is not quite where I think most of us are going, in a way, looking to gain skills. One of the most concentrated ways of gaining skills are trade schools. A lot of times these are private organizations, and they are geared towards a certain set of skilled. For instance, north of us, we have the Hobart Institute of Welding Technology, and they are geared towards teaching you, well, how to weld. And they are working in conjunction with different credentialing bodies so that you can earn a welding certification in a certain process. Welding certifications is a whole different video for a different time. But let's just say if somebody approaches you and says, I'm looking for a certified welder, if it's a guy off the street, you've probably got some educating to do. The trade programs are going to teach you skills to get you an entry-level job, for the most part, into the field of your choosing. They're pretty similar to when I went to nursing school. When I went to nursing school, I had to take psychology, and I had to do rotations in OB and med surg and operating room and ICU. And when I graduated and tested and received my RN license, I wasn't really qualified to do very much. I had a taste of what different fields were offered out there, and I was at least deemed competent, at least on the day that I took the test, to pursue further development in that field. Now, the trade schools, you're going to be a little more focused than that scenario I presented, but when you, let's say if you take a program and they're focusing on pipe welding, I don't know that you're going to walk into a pipe welding job. There's a pretty good chance you need to go in as a helper, and that involves a lot of fabrication skills that some places that I know of don't focus a lot on. They focus a lot on welding and the active welding and all the different processes and stuff. But again, there is a lot to, there's a lot more to welding than just laying a bead down. and a lot of that has got to do with fabrication. And that kind of brings us to the next point. So one of the best bang for your buck values out there for gaining skills is probably going to be your local community college, or a college in your area that is working in conjunction with a local VOTEC program, high school VOTEC program. An example that I did is Clark State College out in Springfield sponsored a adult education intro to welding course, and that was held at the Greene County Career Center, which is the VOTEC school for the area that offers welding. I think they do auto body shop, they did HVAC. What else did they do? I think they did like law enforcement was out there. But in the evening, when they weren't having classes, I was able to sign up for a course, and I didn't have to enroll in the school. I just had to pay my fee and then show up. And we got a very brief introduction into oxyacetylene. I think we all got one shot at making an oxy weld. And then we went into stick welding in various positions. And then we did some MIG welding, and then we did some TIG welding on just regular carbon steel, and we did a little bit of stainless, not a whole lot. And at the end of that program, you basically got a certificate that said I had attended the class. You're not getting credentialed in any way. You're not being awarded a diploma or anything. You just came there to learn a skill. And then from that, I was able to take some standalone classes up the road at Hobart, not as an enrolled program of study student, because there's a wait list, and the wait list was pretty lengthy. I don't know what it is now, but I was able to pick up a class here and there, just one. I picked. I did their basic TIG course, I did their advanced TIG course, and then I was in one of the early aerospace welding courses. And when I finished that, again, I got a certificate that said that, I had shown up and, and I had passed my test. I wasn't credentialed in any way. I didn't get a certification. I didn't get a diploma. I just showed up to learn a skill. So a different track on that is my local community college here in Dayton, Sinclair. They offer adult education classes. They offer you the opportunity to take different classes, and they offer them in adult education. They offer certificate programs, which is a short, like a 6 or 7 class series of instruction to kind of get you ready for an entry-level position. They offer a 1-year certificate, which is a little more intensive. I think that one is 11 classes, and then you can also take you can register for their Associates of Applied Science degree. The program that I'm currently pursuing is a 1-year certificate, and it falls under the computer-aided manufacturing program. So let's go to the Computadora, and we'll talk a little bit about that. All right, we're down in the subterranean layer where I plot my advances upon an unsuspecting world. And so what are we looking at? These are the offerings at my local community college. And they offer programs as a short-term certificate, as a certificate, and also as an Associate of Applied Science degree. So let's look at this. This is the welding metal joining fabrication certificate. And this is a 30 credit hour course. You can complete it in 3 semesters, and at the end of those 3 semesters, you will have gained skills because you have been exposed to and will come out with a basic understanding of how to operate AutoCAD, manual machining on the lathe, the mill, the drill press, surface grinder, and associated tools, CNC operations, doing both programming and operating of a CNC lathe and mill, or a milling station. You will, in the welding field, you'll be exposed to oxy-fuel cutting, stick, MIG, and TIG welding. You will work in the sheet metal shop, learning how to work a shear, a brake, how to do layout, and a spot welder. You will learn about the weldability of metal, which is the why behind all of the settings that we do. The design and fabrication of tools and fixtures for the shop floor, software programs needed for communication, both interdepartmentally and with clients, measuring the tools you use, the methods you use, and the selection of those, and then the math that you need to execute all of these above skills. These classes are offered during the day. They're also offered at night. You can take this certificate as a full-time student. You can do it as a part-time student. My local community college is extremely affordable. I think the rate I'm at right now is like $131.50 a credit hour. It is a public community college, and you also get a break if you live within the county, I believe. I have a kid who is going to a much more expensiver university, and I guarantee you she is not paying $131 a credit hour, and especially as she's getting ready to go to grad school. Those are dollar signs you just really don't want to talk about. Many of these community colleges will also have a transferability agreements with other colleges. In fact, when you are enrolled in a degree pursuing program, at least at my college, they will, one of the ways that they're going to plan your schedule is they are going to look at the school that you are thinking of transferring to. Let's say if you wanted to go to Wright State, which is a university here in Dayton that has a fairly decent engineering program. They're going to look at the classes that you take in order to make sure that your transferred credits operate as much into your favor as they can, because there's nothing worse than taking English 101 or Western Civ 1 and 2 and then finding out that it doesn't count, and then you have to do the most painful thing, repeat them. It's costly, it's a waste of time. So they try to mitigate that as much as they can. Now, for these certificate and for the associate's programs, you do have to enroll in the school. You do have to be a registered student. It's super easy to do anymore. You can do it online. I mean, I've done almost everything to get enrolled into my college on the internet. I've never had to step foot onto a campus. In fact, the week before classes started, I went to the campus to figure out where everything was, because up until that point, I had never had any need to actually go on there. Now, if you have prior college experience, it would probably be worth the minimal effort and minimal cost to get your existing credits transferred into your local institution. You can do that online now too. Used to, you have to write a letter and send them a check, and some places you still do, but of the 4 institutions of higher learning that I have attended, 3 of the 4 I was able to order my transcripts online for the cost of $5. It's pretty easy to do. If you go direct into these programs out of high school, you're probably it's just enrolling more classes. I don't know if you have to take a placement test as like a high school student or not. I know that as a non-traditional student, which is a label that has been applied to me many times throughout my life. Stand by. It's like 7 degrees outside right now. I'm chilled to the bone. You will have to do, as a non-traditional student, you will have to take some sort of placement exam. What they're trying to do is they're trying to find out if you have a weakness, particularly in English and math skills. As you can imagine, CNC, the fundamentals of computer numerical control operations, it's going to have a lot of math in it. Manual machining, the fundamentals of tooling and machining, there's going to be a lot of math in that, and you have got to have a certain level of skills, to be able to succeed in there, because what the college doesn't want you to do and what you don't want to do is get into something and be so over your head that you end up, failing the program, or even worse than that, dropping out, because not only does that not do a service to you, it skews the numbers for, the institution. And, these institutions are very, very proud of their graduation rates and their employment rates, their post-graduation job placement rates, and they don't want you to screw that up. So that's one of the things that they do. And the way that you will do that, in the old days, when you went to take an assessment or a placement test, you had to make an appointment, and then you showed up in a building, and it's, like a testing center somewhere. Now, you can do it all online. I actually took my placement tests. I signed up for them on the internet, and then I logged in to a Zoom call with a proctor and I think 5 other people, and they were able to take us into a breakout room and give us individual instructions after they checked us in, and then you actually take the test online. There is no waiting for a human to look at your paper and do an assessment of your writing skill or your math skills, because guess what? It's all done by computer. All right, so you've done your research, you've made a plan, you're working your plan, you have registered, you have been assessed, and you may have even registered, and then comes the fun part. How am I going to pay for this? Well, you could just pay for it. The benefit of just straight out paying for school is you don't have to involve yourself in that spider web known as financial aid, filling out a FAFSA form, and you don't have any constraints on that. If people are going to give you money, a lot of times that money comes with strings. So if you are wanting to do financial aid, you'll have to fill out a FAFSA form, and it's relatively straightforward. And if you fill out a FAFSA, then what you are able to get is some scholarships. You can apply for, there's a scholarship out there for everything. Do a little Googleizing, and you'll find that, there's a scholarship for, guys named Fred. It could be $100, and literally you write an essay about why your name is Fred, and they'll give you $100. There are, based on your culture, you could get a scholarship. If you are of a tribal people group, you could get a scholarship based on that. If you are an ethnicity from outside the U.S., if you're Chinese American, you could get a scholarship for that. There are scholarships for, left-handed people. There's a scholarship out there for everything. You just have to do the paperwork. You have to do the research and try to figure it out. A lot of them, you just have to write a paper to get that scholarship. FAFSA will also open you up to some grants, possibly. Pell Grants are ones that come to mind. And then the FAFSA will also open up the world of student loans to you. You know, if you're young in the trade and you're really, this is something that you really want to do, don't just go with the first offer that comes your way. Do a little research, on how you can get different rates for these. You may it may behoove you to borrow money from a relative. There are also work study programs. Your employer potentially could pay for something like this if they have tuition reimbursement. If they have many companies want to promote from within, so check with your HR department. There may be a program where they will help you with skills training if that opens you up to fill a position that they need to fill. And what else is there? There is, did you serve? Check your GI Bill because that's a benefit. That's an assignable benefit. If it's the post 9/11, depending on your eligibility period, that is an assignable benefit. Again, check with your personnelist if you are still active duty, because if your spouse is active duty or guard and has that benefit, they may be able to sign it to you because they can sign it to dependents, and spouses are classified as dependents. That's the formal, that's kind of the high level view of what formal education options you may have for getting a new set of skills. Next time we're going to talk about the informal ways that you can acquire new skills, and that is open to, I think, a lot of us, because we may be doing that and not even realize that that's in reality what we're doing. I'm James, this is RATTLECAN Fab Shop. You guys have a great weekend. Stay warm. Wash your hands. Cheers. I hope you found this episode educational or entertaining, or maybe even both. You might want to check this one out as well. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell to be notified when new videos drop, and if you got comments, make sure you put them down beneath the sermon notes. Thanks for hanging out with us here at the RATTLECAN Fab Shop. Y'all have a good one. Cheers.